Here's Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive, and its Offside Sports Vertical, fresh after running Noah Strang out of the building.
Yeah, why are you chasing Noah away? We like Noah.
We loved Noah. In fact, when I think of the tweets that we put up during the course of our show as visuals.
More Strang than Williams.
I was going to say, Noah Strang has got to be right there with J-Pat, vying for the gold medal and number one in the power rankings.
I was getting insecure. I didn't like not having the attention. No,
there it is. The truth comes out. Boy,
no, you know
Noah.
what, guys? Yeah, sad to see Noah go. He's going back to school, going to NYU. He's going to be a much more famous sports journalist than all of us here one day. I'm sure. I said this on Twitter yesterday, but something that continually happens because we've only got one seat in the press box, like as all the outlets do. So I'm rarely at Rogers Arena at the same time as Noah, so I'm not there hanging out with him. But so when I'm there, I constantly would get people telling me, Noah's doing like a really good job. Like Noah's like really great in this. Noah, and I think you guys have said the same thing to me as well. And, so hearing that over and over and over, and I think it was really cool just kind of seeing him establish himself as one of the voices on the Canucks beat.
For sure.
And doing that, so that was really cool.
He did a marvelous job. He took to it like fish to water. And now, where do they send their resumes, Rob?
Haven't posted it yet, but we will be.
Okay.
And we'll have somebody new covering the Canucks for us for next season. So looking forward to that. All right.
Well, I hope you coach them up in the ways of the Daily Hive and Offside. Rob, our first opportunity to talk to you since the hiring of Adam Foote. What did you make of the new Canucks head coach in his introductory press conference?
It was fine, I guess. I think this was the most boring decision they could have made. Right? It doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. It could very well be the right decision, but I mean, he was on Rick Tocchet's staff. That's his most relevant experience in this, and it seems as though that the familiarity with the players was a key component to the hiring, right? But I think it's missing a little bit of the excitement. If it was Manny Malhotra, I think there'd be an extra buzz about what is Manny going to do that's different. How is he going to approach things? Obviously, former Canucks player from that 2011 team, so that would have been fun, I think.
Coming off an impressive AHL run, all that.
Exactly, and if they brought someone else in from another organization, learning all about this new coach, I think would have given us lots to chew on. So for the content side of things, this was not a great move, but that it doesn't mean that it is the wrong move. I like everyone else. I think I don't know if it wouldn't have been my choice. I don't think he has the resume of the other candidates. He's been an assistant coach under Tocchet. That's very good for your resume. He knows the market. That's great. The Kelowna experience, from all accounts, was not a good one, and that's the only time he's led a bench. So I think he's got a lot to prove here. Tocchet speaks very highly of him, and I think, and Quinn Hughes, of course, spoke very highly of him. I think the defense under him, had shown a lot. He'd done a lot with some patchwork players at times. So I don't think it's fair to lambaste this and just say like this is a terrible decision. But I do think it opens up the Canucks to some criticism here because he doesn't have the resume of some other candidates that were available.
I'm open to being surprised in the win and loss columns. Like I'm open to the possibility there. I'm less bullish, optimistic about the level of excitement that this team might play for. Like, are we just going to see a team that defends its way to victory here next season?
Certainly seems like it, right? I mean, they're hanging their hat right now on the goaltending and defense, and they've hired one of the most famous defensive defenseman from the 1990s as their head coach, right? So it certainly seems that way. I'm going to be very interested to see who they hire as new assistants on the bench, because they do need a couple guys on there. So are they going to hire someone with, I think it would be obvious. I think it's obvious to say like it would make sense to hire someone with a ton of experience to go with your head coach that doesn't have a lot of experience. So do they get someone that's got a great offensive mind, someone that's really going to get the power play in order and those sorts of things? It remains to be seen. I think the biggest thing also is just like there's all the talk about Quinn Hughes and like does Quinn Hughes like this hire? I think the really important thing here is this the right coach for Elias Pettersson? Because if Pettersson's not right, I don't think this team's going anywhere. And if this team's not going anywhere, I think that reduces the chances of Quinn Hughes wanting to re-sign here.
We asked this the other day to many opinions and many votes on our daily poll question. Mitch Marner, Rob, should the Canucks pursue Mitch Marner in free agency?
I think he'd be a great addition for the Canucks. I don't think there's any hope in hell that he's coming here. If you're Mitch Marner, I feel like Vancouver has all of the things that he could probably, it's like he's a Toronto guy. He always dreamt about playing for the Maple Leafs. So like you'd want to stay in Toronto for that reason. The reason to get out of Toronto would be the media pressure. Well, like this is probably the closest thing to Toronto in the National Hockey League right now, where you're gonna have a short leash, with the fans and media. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to come to Vancouver of all places. So I just don't. I mean, I probably just wouldn't waste my time. I mean, if you could get him, if you thought you had an inside track to get him, absolutely, like spend the money. I would do that in a heartbeat. But like when you think about it, like I just probably wouldn't waste my time because I don't think there's a chance that he comes to Vancouver.
All right, let's ask you this one then. If they are going to acquire a top two center by trade, and Jim Rutherford putting out more rumblings late last week that, looks like trade before free agency. That's going to cost you a roster defenseman, Rob. Which one are you moving? Roenick, D. Petey, Marcus Pettersson, none of the above? You're not making that trade at all? What says you about moving a roster defenseman for a top two center this summer?
I absolutely hate the idea of them moving like good young defensemen. I think if you trade Hronek, now you need to find another top four defenseman. So I don't think that's just robbing Peter to pay Paul. I don't think you can do that one, not until you see more progress from your young defensemen anyways. I don't love the idea of them trading picks and prospects for like a center. Like if you're going to do that, you better be finding like the guy for sure. But otherwise, like I'm kind of the mind, like you can't just get into this panic move to just be like, oh my God, maybe this will squeak us into the playoffs. Like you've got to have a bit of a long-term lens here. I know Quinn Hughes, I know that decision is coming, but I just don't think that you can go all in for one season just to think that, okay, that's going to change things for Hughes. I think Hughes is going to look at the long-term vision as well, and that's going to play a part here. So I guess I'm kind of punting on the question here a little bit.
Williams?
I don't love it. I guess if I'm picking there, then I think you probably have to say D. Petey because you can't. There's no point in weakening your defense here, and now you need another. Like they desperately needed a top four defenseman last year. They went out and got Marcus Pettersson. Well, now you're going to ship out another top four defenseman. Like, what is D. Petey? Like, is he a top? I don't think he's a top four guy yet. So like, I guess you have to trade one of those young defensemen. I just hate the thought of it. I guess it depends who does that get you in return? Like, is that going to get you some guy that ends up being a third liner in a year or two? Like, I want to know who the other guy is that they get back.
All right.
It's going to be a very difficult summer for them.
Well, I'm glad you got around to giving me a name there, Williams, because we're not trading these guys. He doesn't want to trade picks and prospects. I mean, Noah Strang is not walking through that door without something going out. We got to give to get here.
We're 5 weeks to the draft. We're 6 weeks to free agency. Which is is this happening in the next 5 weeks? Do we know the Canucks second line center in the next 5 weeks? You think?
I think so. I mean, if they're dropping hints that it's not going to come in free agency, the guy that I think that, like, if he got to free agency, I feel like they're offering the sun, earth, and moon for Sam Bennett. But so is every other team in the NHL, and he's likely going to get overpaid if he doesn't get re-signed by the Panthers first. So, otherwise, like, I think this probably comes down by the draft, right? Like, I think we're going to be finding out quite a bit in the next month here about what the team does next year. You know what my big fear is, I think, in all of this, guys, is like, do you remember that summer where they make the OEL trade and, like, they give up the first round pick and they do all these things, and it was kind of classic Jim Benning trying to fix everything in one summer?
Yeah.
That's just my concern, is that they try to fix everything, and Benning tried to fix things not just in the summer, he would try to fix it by July 1st. That was kind of the thing where I was like, okay, like, I'm worried that they're just going to go in and be like, okay, let's fix it all now. Let's turn it all around right now. Great if it works, but you're making some bets in that situation.
Well, that's why I've been peddling this idea that, like, yeah, the patience is a virtue for sure, but also acting when other people aren't acting. Like, that's why I'm sort of wondering about this possibility of trading away, like, paying for a UFA to be right now. Trading a roster player to get some salary flexibility to sign a player before they reach July 1st. You know, it's not a customary route, but for this Canuck team that's cap tight, you know, maybe you peel off an asset and with an eye to creating some room, and you talk to a UFA to be and you sign them that way.
You know what I'm hearing, Rob? I'm hearing that somebody had a long flight from Frankfurt, opened up a couple of bottles of the mini wines there, and put his thinking cap on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea. I think you make that move with a bit of intel, right? Like,
yeah,
I think you it's probably rare that you make these moves where you trade for a pending UFA and don't have any semblance of an idea of what this player is looking for and what their appetite is.
You can do that with a late pick. You can peel off a fourth rounder to do that, but you're not actually trading something of substance. If you want something of substance, Team A, I'm going to give you this guy, but we need to talk to him first.
I mean, I guess it depends whether you're, you know, I mean, I guess it depends. It depends on, like, okay, if you peel off this asset, let's say it's even a third round pick to get this asset, does that make or break your chances of getting this player, right? Like, if you get to talk to him for like a week before July 1st, if that makes or breaks you getting that player, if that means that you get that player at maybe a bit of a discount than they're going to get after July 1st, because I think the money is going to be silly this year, especially.
Yeah, well, you get the eighth year, so the eighth year, so that brings down the cap hit a little bit, right? So
yeah, but I think if you can do that and it makes or breaks, then I think absolutely it's worth giving up a pick rather than being there on July 1st and money's flying everywhere and players are coming off the board and all of a sudden you get caught into a panic move and you overspend for a player that you don't really love.
Rob, for a long period of time here before last year's return to the Stanley Cup playoffs, there were two facets of the Vancouver Canucks organization that I thought performed very, very well. One was everyone who had something to do with their theme nights and particularly their theme jerseys, some absolutely beautiful artwork. Was commissioned there for Diwali nights and Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year. And the other part of the operation that I thought was really above par was the Canucks Bar and Grill at YVR in the U.S. terminal. Had many a breakfast there on my way to somewhere in the United States. Lunch as well.
A marginal breakfast.
No, I thought the breakfast was pretty good, actually. It was very nice.
Hard to screw up eggs.
Honestly, my was there with my parents a couple of months ago. My mom is not an easy sell. She said, this is quite good. Alas, the Canucks Bar and Grill is no more at YVR. What's the story there?
Icon's Sports Bar and Grill is what you'll see if you're flying to the United States now. It's been kind of quietly replaced. Like it's been like this apparently for a few weeks. I haven't taken a flight to the U.S. in a little while, so I hadn't seen it for myself. But saw a photo from actually Daily Hive's Ken Chan snapped a photo while he was at the terminal, and I was like, oh, that's definitely a change. You can still see the blue and green stripes out on the outside, but that's about it. It's a sports bar, but it's not a Canucks themed sports bar anymore. Picture of Alphonso Davies now on the outside. Where this is, I don't know if you guys remember the fanfare that this came with when it first opened. I looked back into the archives. 2013, Mike Gillis was there for the opening. Jason Garrison was there for the opening.
Oh wow!
For the ribbon cutting ceremony, it used to have a little gift shop out the front selling Canucks merchandise. Of course, this was like, I think in those days they were really starting to count the possibilities, after 2011 of like, okay, we're going on playoff runs every year. The Canucks are hot, and it didn't exactly go that way. But yeah, the Canucks Bar and Grill is gone. It's no longer at the.
Is it symptomatic of anything? Do you extrapolate from it or not?
No, I mean, I guess they partnered with some like airport restaurant management company. I guess that was the situation.
It's an arrangement rather than any actual investment into it, really, huh?
Exactly. But like I say, like it was like if you look at like the fanfare from like it's a long time ago now, I'd forgotten all about it. But like there was like tons of fanfare when this started. This was a big deal for them when it first opened, and was kind of a unique thing.
Yes.
The other thing I was thinking about is like, that gift shop that's just around the corner from there that like sells like a bunch of like sports merchandise. I see that every now and then. You'll see like people taking photos of it, and it's like filled with Blue Jays and Raptors stuff.
Yes,
and
it
it's
is.
just like, and there's like tons of Toronto stuff and not a ton of Vancouver stuff. And we'll have to do an expose on that one day, because they got to get that sorted out.
Bizarre.
I'm not sure what the deal is there.
Yeah.
They sell the merchandise that sells.
Yeah, they're in the business of doing that.
They're in the business of selling merchandise. I think they know what's coming off the shelves and what isn't.
You tell me.
I mean, it was a dark.
You tell me Blake's C's hat there wouldn't sell at
for
at
sure.
YVR?
For sure.
Yeah.
In fact, our friend Rich in the 9 o'clock Gun Company has a stand.
He's got a stand there. Yeah,
I bought
There you go.
stuff from there, and the licensing possibilities coming out of 2011 were astronomical. I was just thinking, though, Gillis attended. Could you imagine poor Joan, his executive assistant? So, Mike, today you have to go to YVR. You're going to have to clear security because you're going to the U.S. terminal to cut a ribbon with Garrison.
Just what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should pull up the picture there. It's a classic Mike Gillis, like facial expression. Like,
does he have the beard? Is that bearded goatee Gillis? No, that's pre.
No,
okay,
it was pre the crisis beard. Crisis goatee is not formed.
Solidarity. Yep. Great stuff, Rob. Thank you for this. Until next week, and pity about Noah, but they've got your Twitter account, your X account. I mean, you can send your material that way to Rob.
Thanks, guys.